Shell shock. It isn't acknowledged as a legitimate affliction in the early stages of the war. Doctors don't know what to make of it. They label the sufferers NYD. And later, seeing them sat in the back of the hospital truck, empty faces caked in mud and blood and all that's left of Bill. Something inside having fled, their eyes gazing into the infinite wastes. Perhaps they see into the future, the exact day of their death, and cannot tear their stare away. No waiting now, no prayers, struck mute and labelled nervous, not yet diagnosed. And in the early days, shell shock is described officially as weakness of character and lack of moral fibre. Young Osselthorpe stopped fighting all at once one day in war, fell down upon the ground and would not soldier any more. The medic shook his head and said, "There's nothing I can do. Science cannot cure what this poor fellow's going through." The Major stood before him then and looked him in the eye. "Come on now, Osselthorpe, you know we're all afraid to die. Get up on your feet and walk it off. Here, have some rum. Pull yourself together, man. You're acting like the Hun." So they sent him back to Blighty, though he sported not a scar, and they shouted, "Yellow Belly!" as they passed him in their cars. The General said, "Get up, young man, this conflict needs a tiger. There's nothing wrong with you but simple lack of moral fibre." The Field Marshal, disgusted, said, "We'll send him back to Wipers. We'll shell the weakness out of him, or see him shot by snipers." The doctor smiled and said, "Old chap, you're not right in the head. This soldier isn't shirking. The poor blighter's 2 weeks dead." The Minister said, "Nonsense! Ship this traitor off to lose. This war's not won by quitters, damn it! Death is no excuse." But young Osselthorpe was adamant and stubborn as a rod, so they gave him a court-martial and a pointless firing squad. Then they sent him to the Western Front and gave him back his gun, and he lies there to this very day, still dead and far too young. There are some soldiers who just can't take the incredible strain. They are charged with cowardice, given a brief court-martial, and shot in the field. From that day on, the family seldom spoke his name. The neighbours knew, of course. They saw his father's face, inflamed, the blame on it. They saw his mother try to hide her tears, of love, of course, and loss, but also shame. At first they thought he died a worthy death, as though he'd been a player in some sort of game. An honourable innings, what? Hip hip hooray! As though one death's more noble than the rest, and notoriety is really any worse than fame. The letter said, "Walked out of ranks one day. Private F. Not killed in action, he died in service." You know what that means. Oh, there were warning signs. Asleep on watch. Field punishment number 1. Tied to a gun wheel 2 hours every day. Then shell shock. Home to Blighty for a stay, but pale and shaking on the boat back to the front. Mates called him Sparrow, twitchy, titchy little tit, like a bird, always singing every bleeding dawn, chirping while he makes the tea. Bit of a twerp, but all right, got stuck in and did his bit. 1 minute he was here, then gone. One dawn, he didn't sing. They tied him to a kitchen chair behind a milking shed. A volley, then a curse, and then a pistol shot to the head. Yes, I was shell-shocked. Yes, confused, freezing, frostbitten, bloody, bruised, and it's important that you hear this, I was afraid. Of course I was afraid. Afraid of bullets, bombs and rifle shells, grenades and gas, and each imagined death of snipers, rats, and all the 1,000 hells rained down in fire and blood to steal my breath. And so ahead I saw, or dreamed I saw, a quiet place, a break in stormy clouds, a piece of blue, a rest, a bed, a place to stop. Just stop. And let my rifle slip from frozen hands and walked as though beneath a sunken sea, and did not halt until they brought me back to war. And then they killed me, and I sing no more. There are many Red Cross Army mobile hospitals near the front lines. They overflow with the wounded, the dying and the dead. A nurse stationed at one such hospital says of her patients, when we hurt them, they try not to cry. Often they apologize for dying. The soldier in bed 15 had eyes of darkest brown, apologized for the trouble he caused, and held back his tears, ashamed. But he broke down when I held his hand. The man in bed 15 said he'd been a bit of a naughty boy back home, 2 sons by 2 different girls in Fife. But he called all night for the first woman in his life, his ma, as so many do, so near the end. The soldier in bed 15 apologized for dying. I saw life slip from him like the shedding of a summer coat. I held him for as long as I could, but there were so many more, and we were so short of room. The boy in bed 15 has eyes of deepest blue. Women are coming to the forefront, not only in hospitals and dressing stations, but at home, in the fields, on the buses, driving taxis, delivering goods, working in shipyards, in short, the backbone of the country. A great many work in munitions, assembling shells to be used in the war. It's an immensely dangerous job, not just because of the risk of accidental explosions. The munition workers are nicknamed canaries. Their skin turns yellow due to prolonged exposure to gunpowder. Over 400 women die of cordite poisoning. But if a child were to ask, "What did you do in the war, Mummy?" the answer would be, almost everything. I'm sending these socks to you, Tommy, for you must keep your feet clean and dry. The photo you sent me is bonny, but I wish you were here by my side. I'm bringing up 2 girls now, Paddy, and both of them have your brown eyes. Though they'll never be held by their daddy, they will think of you always with pride. I'm dressing your injuries, Sammy. I'm holding your hand while you cry. And although I'm not really your mammy, we'll pretend that I am while you die. I'm driving an ambulance, matey. I'm delivering coal for your hearth. I'm tilling the fields with young Katie. And I'm stitching up wounds in the dark. My skin is as yellow as corn, boy, and I'll work till I'm too ill to try. I'm making your shells for the war, boy, but I'm praying that no more will die. I'm crying as I think of you, son. how you weren't even ready to shave. And I wish you could come home to me, son, but you're gone, without even a grave. Back at home, mothers, daughters, sisters, wives and sweethearts anxiously wait for news from the front. In the later stages of the war, newspapers stop publishing the lists of casualties and deaths. There are simply too many. The women pray for the safe return of their loved ones and not the dreaded Form B10482, informing them of a soldier's death. Often the boys do come home, alive but not necessarily in one piece. And mothers find themselves fighting their own secret war. She could not bear to look upon his shattered face, nor change the dressings on his stumps. His sweetheart left, ashamed. But even I, who carried, bore him, raised him, nursed his measles and his mumps, was silenced that first night, had to whisper his name again, over again, had to force myself to claim him as my own, this missing jigsaw puzzle toy, this broken thing that nuzzled as a boy my breast and never still ran everywhere and smiled a lot and used to have a jaw. I have to treat this as my duty and must hide my sobs. Deep in the only sanctuary, my bed, I fight my war, trying not to wish him dead. You took a child, not yet 16, too young to have a will to call his own, and taught him only how to kill. Used him, then sent half of him home. There are some who can't go to war, of course. Illness or disability keeps them from the fight. But at home, young women take to the streets with white feathers, which they give to every young man who is not in uniform. The white feathers signify cowardice. I keep the feathers that they hand me in a box beneath the stairs. They're all white, of course, and at this rate I'll have enough to make a bird, and maybe it will take me far away from here. I'm sick of trotting out the same old song and dance, that tired excuse, the speech about the asthma and my chest and how they'll take up almost anyone these days but me. Can't take the chance, you see. These useless lungs won't last 5 minutes if there's gas. It's for the best. God knows I've tried, but it's no use. I cannot stand their pity. I would rather seem afraid to them than frail, and so I tolerate the fusillades of scorn and stumble on, a coward in a vast and friendless city. And sometimes one will stop me, tap me on the shoulder, say, "Here, aren't you?" Yes, that's me. The brother left behind. The one that didn't go. Yes, he was 2 years older. Was, yes. No, he didn't make it. 2 months to the day. B10482, the form that came. I saw my mother sag and fall that morning by the garden gate. Painful duty, killed in action, sympathy, regret, my shame. I hate him for his perfect jaw, his healthy chest, his smile, the way he charmed the girls and always take the blame for any childish prank that went awry. Despise him for his fitness and because at least he got to fight. But most of all, I hate him for the change he wrought in both our parents, the grief steadily devouring them behind their frozen faces, the battle daily fought to hide the loss and my disgrace. And how we're all so careful not to let the others see that all of us are wishing all the while it had been me. Before you left, you took me fishing and you told me to be strong. How can I be? How can I be? You're gone.